What if the story of human progress is not as simple as we were taught? For generations, we have been told that civilization moved forward in a straight line. First came stone tools, then farming, then cities, then writing, mathematics, engineering, machines, and eventually the modern world. A slow climb from primitive survival to advanced technology. But across the planet, hidden in deserts, jungles, mountains, and ancient ruins, there are traces of something that does not fit that timeline. Massive stones cut with shocking precision. Ancient structures aligned perfectly with the stars. Metal objects that resisted corrosion for centuries. Machines built thousands of years before modern engineering. And monuments so complex that even today, experts still debate how they were made. The question is not whether ancient people were intelligent. They absolutely were. The deeper question is this: did some ancient civilizations once possess knowledge that was later lost? And if they did, how much of human history are we still missing? When we imagine the ancient world, many people picture simple tools, rough stone buildings, and societies struggling to survive. But that image is incomplete. Ancient civilizations were not just surviving. They were observing, calculating, engineering, and experimenting. They tracked the movement of the sun, moon, and stars with incredible accuracy. They built cities with drainage systems, roads, temples, reservoirs, and defensive walls. They developed calendars, mathematics, medicine, architecture, and metallurgy. The Egyptians, Sumerians, Maya, Greeks, Romans, Indians, Chinese, and many other civilizations all created systems that shaped the modern world. But some discoveries go beyond ordinary achievement. Some ancient sites show a level of planning and precision that raises uncomfortable questions. Not because ancient people could not have done it, but because in many cases, we still do not fully understand how they did it. One of the greatest mysteries of ancient engineering is stone. Not small stones. Not blocks that a few workers could move. But stones weighing dozens, hundreds, and sometimes over 1,000 tons. In Baalbek, Lebanon, there are massive stone blocks at the ancient site often associated with Roman construction. Some of these stones are so enormous that moving them even today would require serious engineering, planning, and machinery. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza contains millions of stone blocks. Many weigh several tons each. Some of the granite stones used inside the pyramid were transported from Aswan, hundreds of miles away. Then there are the precision cuts. At sites like Pumapunku in Bolivia, stone blocks appear shaped with sharp angles, smooth surfaces, and repeated geometric patterns. The site has sparked debate for decades because the craftsmanship looks unusually advanced. In Peru, the walls of Sacsayhuaman show massive stones fitted together so tightly that a knife blade can barely pass between them. These stones are irregular in shape, yet they lock together like a puzzle. No mortar. No simple brick pattern. Just perfectly shaped stone, fitted with extraordinary skill. Modern engineers can explain parts of these methods. They can point to ramps, levers, sledges, manpower, stone tools, copper tools, pounding stones, and years of labor. But even when explanations exist, the achievement remains astonishing. These were not primitive builders. They were masters of material, weight, geometry, and patience. And the question remains: how much ancient engineering knowledge was never written down? In 1901, divers discovered something strange in a shipwreck near the Greek island of Antikythera. At first, it looked like a lump of corroded bronze. But when researchers examined it more closely, they realized they were looking at one of the most extraordinary devices ever found from the ancient world. It became known as the Antikythera mechanism. This device, built over 2,000 years ago, contained a complex system of gears. It could track astronomical cycles, predict eclipses, and model the movement of celestial bodies. For a long time, historians believed this level of mechanical complexity did not appear until much later in history. Yet here it was. An ancient machine. A kind of analog computer. Built by Greek engineers long before the modern age. The Antikythera mechanism proves something important. Ancient people were capable of building highly complex technology. And perhaps even more importantly, it suggests that this device may not have been unique. A machine this advanced does not appear from nowhere. It likely came from a tradition of knowledge, experimentation, and craftsmanship. So where are the earlier versions? Where are the workshops? Where are the manuals? Where are the other machines? Perhaps they were lost, melted down, destroyed by war, buried beneath cities, or forgotten when the people who understood them disappeared. The Antikythera mechanism is not just an artifact. It is a warning. It tells us that ancient technology may have existed at levels we are only beginning to understand. Long before telescopes, computers, and satellites, ancient civilizations watched the sky, and they watched it carefully. The sky was not just beautiful to them. It was a calendar, a map, a religious symbol, and a scientific record. At Stonehenge in England, massive stones were arranged in a way that aligns with solar events, especially the solstices. In Central America, the Maya developed extremely accurate calendars based on astronomical observation. They tracked planetary cycles, eclipses, and time with a level of precision that still impresses researchers today. In Egypt, the pyramids and temples often show relationships with celestial movements and sacred geography. Across the ancient world, people built monuments that connected earth to sky. This raises a fascinating question. How did societies without modern instruments make observations so precise? The answer may be simple but powerful. Time. Generations of observation. Priests, astronomers, architects, and record keepers watching the same sky for hundreds or thousands of years. But there is something deeper here. Modern society often assumes technology must be digital, mechanical, or electronic. But ancient technology was sometimes different. It was architectural, mathematical, social, generational. A temple could be a calendar. A stone circle could be an astronomical instrument. A city could be designed as a map of the cosmos. This was not technology in the modern sense. But it was technology. And in some cases, it worked for thousands of years. Stone was not the only material ancient civilizations mastered. Metal tells another strange story. In India stands the famous iron pillar of Delhi. It is over 1,600 years old and is known for its remarkable resistance to rust. The pillar is not magical. Scientists have studied it and found that its corrosion resistance is connected to its composition and the protective layer that formed on its surface. But that does not make it less impressive. It shows that ancient metallurgists understood iron production in ways that produced extraordinary results. Then there is Damascus steel. For centuries, blades made from this legendary material were famous for their strength, sharpness, and flowing patterns. The exact traditional methods used to create the most famous versions were eventually lost. Modern researchers have studied surviving examples, but the original craft knowledge behind them was not fully preserved in written form. This is one of the most important lessons of lost technology. Knowledge does not always vanish because people were ignorant. Sometimes it vanishes because it was held by specialists, passed from master to apprentice, protected as a trade secret, dependent on specific materials from specific regions, or destroyed when empires collapsed and trade routes disappeared. A civilization does not need to be wiped out for technology to be lost. Sometimes all it takes is one broken chain of transmission, one generation that fails to teach the next, one war, one famine, one lost workshop, and centuries of knowledge can disappear. Some ancient engineering mysteries are not above ground. They are beneath it. In Cappadocia, Turkey, underground cities stretch deep into the earth. Places like Debunking could shelter thousands of people, with rooms, ventilation shafts, storage areas, wells, and defensive passageways. These were not simple caves. They were planned underground environments, built for survival, built with airflow, built with protection in mind. Imagine the knowledge required to create something like this. The builders needed to understand geology, ventilation, water access, human movement, defense, and long-term habitation. And they had to do it without modern drilling machines or electric lighting. The result is one of the most impressive examples of ancient, underground architecture ever discovered. Again, the lesson is clear. Ancient technology was not always loud. It did not always look like machines. Sometimes it was hidden in design, in planning, in systems, in the ability to turn stone and earth into a functioning shelter for an entire community. This may be the most important question of all. If ancient civilizations had such advanced knowledge, why was so much of it lost? The answer is not one event. It is many. Libraries burned. Empires collapsed. Wars destroyed cities. Natural disasters buried settlements. Trade networks broke apart. Languages died. Religious and political changes erased older traditions. And many forms of knowledge were never written down in the first place. In the modern world, we store information in books, databases, servers, and cloud systems. But ancient knowledge often lived in people. In craftsmen. In priests. In architects. In sailors. In builders. In healers. In metalworkers. When those people died without passing on what they knew, the knowledge died with them. This is why archaeology is so powerful. It does not just uncover objects. It uncovers missing chapters of human memory. A broken tool can reveal an entire industry. A carved stone can reveal a calendar. A machine found in a shipwreck can rewrite the history of engineering. A rust-resistant pillar can reveal forgotten chemistry. The past is not silent. It is speaking through what survived. There is a danger when discussing ancient mysteries. Some people jump too quickly to fantasy, aliens, supernatural forces, impossible civilizations, secret powers. But we do not need to take intelligence away from ancient people in order to be amazed. In fact, the real story may be even more powerful. Ancient civilizations were capable of extraordinary things because they were observant, organized, creative, and deeply skilled. They solved problems with the tools they had. They built monuments that lasted longer than modern buildings. They created machines that should force us to rethink the timeline of invention. They understood materials, astronomy, architecture, and engineering in ways that were sometimes lost and rediscovered centuries later. So maybe the true mystery is not that ancient people had help. Maybe the true mystery is that we underestimated them. We looked at the past and saw simplicity. But the ruins tell a different story. They tell us that intelligence is not modern. Innovation is not new. And progress is not guaranteed. Civilizations can rise. They can discover. They can build. And then they can forget. Every year, new discoveries change what we know about the ancient world. Satellite scans reveal buried cities beneath forests. Underwater archaeology finds lost ports and shipwrecks. Ground-penetrating radar uncovers hidden chambers. Old artifacts are re-examined with new technology. And suddenly, objects sitting in museums for decades reveal secrets nobody noticed before. This means the story is not finished. There may still be machines buried in shipwrecks. Libraries hidden under ruins. Underground cities waiting to be mapped. Lost construction methods waiting to be understood. And ancient technologies sitting in plain sight, misunderstood because we do not yet know how to read them. The past is not a closed book. It is a damaged book. Pages missing. Chapters burned. Languages forgotten. But some lines remain. And those lines are enough to suggest something incredible. Human history may be far more complex than the simple timeline we were given. Ancient civilizations did not have smartphones, satellites, or electric machines. But they had something we often forget to value: patience, observation, craftsmanship, generational knowledge, and a connection between science, architecture, and survival. Their technology was not always made of circuits. Sometimes it was made of stone, sometimes metal, sometimes mathematics, sometimes memory. The ruins they left behind are not just monuments. They are evidence. Evidence that human beings were reaching, calculating, building, and dreaming thousands of years before the modern world. So the next time you see an ancient pyramid, A perfectly fitted stone wall, a mysterious machine, or a metal artifact that refuses to decay? Ask yourself. Are we looking at primitive history? Or are we looking at the remains of knowledge we once had and lost?